So I'm asking myself, like, all right, why? Well, my one um famous movie review is me talking about how much I hated Queen and Slim. And I'm like, damn, like, and why I just keep going in on black films? And like, why does my spirit want to do that? And I think, well, first of all, unless something's like really good or really bad, I really don't care. But specifically black films, because it's clearly not being controlled by black people, even as black directors or whatever, black ball players, they're not being controlled by black people. So you have to be extra wary, precautious, and aware of what they're showing you, of what you should look like, and how you should behave. So I think, yeah, that's why. But I decided to go live 2 a.m., kind of tipsy, because I just seen the movie at my homie's crib. You know what I mean? Who had you know what I mean? We seen a screener of it. And I give it, first of all, it's gonna be mad spoilers. So be ready for that. I'm telling the whole movie. Um, and I also give it a C minus. At first, I was like D plus, but I give it a C minus. It kind of made up for it at the end a little bit. But let's get into it. This movie was pretty trash overall. This movie lacked fighting, had a couple moments, and I get it. It's like I always try to play both sides of everything. Like at least like think um T'Challa dies. Obviously, rest in peace, Chadwick Boseman. Um, but you know, his little like I'm gonna say it one more time. I'm telling the movie this whole time. I'm acting like you already saw it. So if you ain't see it and you don't want to know the movie, don't watch this. I'm going in. So T'Challa dies. You know, the main character dies. It's hard to replace him. Like, yeah, it's hard to replace him. That type of swag and act level of acting. And make it make sense. So his little sister takes over, gets the vibranium in her, and gets the power. But I guess it makes sense that I was thinking that at the end, like she's not an amazing fighter because she kind of just picked up the suit and the powers, but the martial arts and all of that, you know, maybe, you know, whatever. Fighting wasn't that great. Plot was just unnecessary, too much talking, not enough action. Um, and I'm a Marvel fan, and I'm a black fan. I'm one of them dudes who's just fascinated and have an affinity for black people. If you don't already know by now, but so me as a fan, I'm just like part one was great. This one, you know, like if it wasn't Marvel, I probably give it less because it's like I'm just a Marvel fan. So, uh, yeah, it's like I was interested, and there was some interesting aspects of this. But so now, before I was hesitant to watch this. I wasn't as hyped. I let my 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 hoteppers, the black conscious community or people, and the reviews that I just saw flashing across my screen was just saying, you know, talking about the bogusness of it or whatever. So I was kind of just hesitant to even watch it. So I'm just like, you know what? Let's go over there. I brought Mitzi, sidebar, who was just acting a fool. Not the whole time, but damn. Like I'm sitting here trying to get this dog out the crib because she be looking all sad and stuff. I'm just like, let me just bring her, and she was just ready, like a little actual like an actual child, just ready to be in her familiar place. But anyways, we're kicking it. We're watching this movie, and immediately I see it. I see the shit that like these people are talking about. You know, the people that I listen to. You know, we know who they are. But the black conscious community people, I'm like, okay, I see it. And I didn't even watch their reviews or the movie yet. But I'm like, so before I even watch it, I feel like I'm gonna watch it after this, which is why, hence, I'm doing this review at 2 a.m. And maybe you're watching the replay, maybe you're watching now. But, and if you're just tuning in, I'm telling this movie. So, yeah, make sure you see it before you watch this. Mad spoilers. So let's get into it. I actually wrote shit down because I'm like, you know what? Let me take this channel more seriously. And I put up the thumbnail this time. You know, we're gonna step it up a little bit, man. Pardon me. Let's get to it. So the racial shit. Um, the black versus brown play. So it's like they introduce this character, Kukulum, or however you say it, Namor, who is super strong. Apparently, like according to the research I've seen, he is damn near as strong as like the Hulk, or he beats the Hulk or something a couple times in the comic book series. So he's super strong, super mutant who can fly and all this stuff. And he is based on an ancient Mayan god or something. Or the character is kind of based off of this. It resembles, I guess, this ancient Mayan god. You know, who, however they look like, but Mexicans. Paintings on the wall are very dark skinned, and there are a lot of blackness and Africanness in South America. A lot of African history in South America, which I guess kind of aligns the two, and it makes sense in certain ways. But I'm just like, man, what, like they have to like bring in the all lives matter crew and like we're not black, we're colored bullshit, which has been happening since God knows when, like since the civil rights movement or affirmative action or everything. It's like instead of doing things for black people specifically because of black people were specifically attacked, it wasn't an all lives matter thing when it came to or all lives thing when it came to the educational system, mass incarceration, racism, all that good stuff. It's an attack on black people, black towns, black history, everything, on everything black. But even our entertainment, it's like we have to include or whatever the system. And there's even a point where I'm just like, I'm hearing reggaeton in Wakanda right now. Like they playing reggaeton. So they introduce this ancient Mayan character who they're very dope. Don't get me wrong, and they do exist. I did the research. Namar, and that apparently was the first Marvel superhero because he's like a superhero villain. Kind of hybrid kind of thing, and he does exist, but uh my thing is, did he ever fight Black Panther like in the comic books, or is this just some shit that you're trying to play on the fact that like there's just a lot of, I'm not saying there's a lot of tension, but I mean I know I've heard about like the black and brown thing in like California, and like black and Latino people aren't like, we're not so buddy buddy, like the community, like community wise, at least not on an individual level. Like I have all sorts of friends, but on a community level, them niggas don't care about us, and we just stuck on stupid but care about everybody and just let people do whatever. But as far as line of defense, but yeah, it's like my thing is this. I don't know if this character was in the Black Panther universe during the comics, so I can't even sit here and say, "Oh, this is some bullshit." But it's just like, come on, can black people just have something? Like why are we making it like why we have to bring in? That's my initial thing when I saw it. because you're not gonna see no black people in what's that um what's that Mexican animation movie? I don't forgot the name of it. I mean, I never knew. I see it, but it's like, yeah, you wouldn't see us in their stuff like that, you know? Like, no one else does it. No one else cares to. If it's like a specifically a cultural thing, where it's like that movie where it's like about the dead and the cartoon, I forget, but yeah, like it's a straight Mexican thing, and it's a good movie, and there's nothing wrong with it. But it's like black people always got to include something else, and for something that's specifically Wakandan black, it's like, oh, we got to do some all lives matter shit. But or the powers that be. So yeah, right. I said this. So and it so in a different way, in retrospect, also, it does show how both forces, because at first they're enemies. Fast forward to the end, the thing is that they go from being enemies to realizing, okay, maybe we should fight along together against this colonizer. Marvel's always on some racial, like metaphorical, phys, philosophical, philosophical. I wasn't gonna let that go. Philosophical. Stanley and them, they've been on that shit. They've been on that philosophical, just like racial, social, economical thing with these comics. You think it's some comics, you think it's some sci-fi shit, but it's really deeper than that every time. And how they show, so there's like empathy that's gained with the new Black Panther, which is the sister, and the enemy at the time, the sea god, Nomar, because she visits his land, which is, it's really dope in essence, because it's like the ancient Mayan civilization and the ancient African civilizations, and how there's a lot of evidence that, like, when they, like, the same things were happening on South America on this side of the hemisphere, like they was happening on that side, in Africa, and like as far as obviously pyramids and like paintings and art and whatnot. So like to see this in a movie, it was like, this is pretty interesting. um and she gains empathy by being in Nomar's land, seeing like the similarities, seeing that they're good people and they have their purpose, and I like that dynamic. So and so going back in history, they show how it went from ancient Mayan civilization and speaking their tongue to the conquistadors and the Spaniards coming over and introducing Spanish and making converting them to who knows, but yeah, converting them and conquering them and enslaving them. So it's like the 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 similarities of the two, right? So it's like she in a good. I thought that was actually a decent aspect of it. I was like, this is pretty cool, like seeing, because I always think about this stuff on the regular anyway. Since a child, I just been thinking like, all right, if all of us colored people over here, melanated people, been enslaved, we speak different languages, down to our Haitians and Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, and all of us people who've been enslaved, like, but we don't fuck with each other like that. Uh, when are we gonna like take the sword off of our necks and like realize like, oh shit, we're not the enemy, like, because if you just go back, and not to say that like there needs to be war engaged and like, because we ain't competing with them Europeans. Not on no physical war. They will blow us up. We are not competing with them on the physical thing, but it's like we could. How about we stop beefing with each other over language and like small differences? And how about, and not to say that there's even beef, but just how about we try to respect and honor each other's past, and honor each other as melanated people instead of whatever. So, anyways, I enjoyed that aspect of the film. I thought that was one good aspect. Um, And yeah, so it does make me want to research and find out, like, oh, like, so this character is real. Like I said, I looked it up. The character is real. Um, so he's legit. He's powerful. He can't beat Thor, and he's not like, you know, like super powerful. But I mean, he kind of is though. Like, he's a mutant. Um, and he's in the Marvel universe, but does he ever fight Black Panther specifically? Like during a time when like their main man of the house is dead, like in the Marvel universe? Like, come on. Look what they're doing. So now we're going into the gender roles. So this is the other half of my review that is like obvious to me. It's already obvious that society is pushing this black man versus black woman narrative, propelling the black woman. Black women are doing much better, and I'm not just saying it's society, but overall, like from the things, the trickle down effect of things that happened from my parents' generation of welfare and kicking the man out the house. It's very symbolic with this movie. The man gets kicked out the house in the 80s. I get born. I grow up without a father, and plenty of us, most of us grow up without fathers. So the odds, like the defense is now gone. The masculine energy that shows us how to be men, shows us how to deal with emotions, is now gone. So this movie is very symbolic because T'Challa dies, the women take over, and it's like I saw that was basically the one thing I saw like people talking about. It's just like very hyper feminine feminist movement thing going on, and it's like is it not obvious that they're just playing like fucking games with us? They're just playing games with us. Um uh they are pushing this narrative um in to our people, you know, and to the people in general. Smart woman, dumb man. Black women are the only people that are told you don't need a man. You know, black strong woman. You don't. I've seen. I don't. Some. I've seen other people say this, but like you've never heard them say, "Oh, a strong white woman, a strong Asian woman, or a strong like Latino woman." No, it's strong black woman. And that you don't need a man. You know that narrative. Which goes hand in hand with this movie because T'Challa dies, the kingdom is left with women, and of course the other men in the kingdom, they're clutch, they're just depicted as dumb brolic men who are worthless, pretty much worthless idiots. And it kind of was like that in part one, you know, and I get that. Uh, so they kind of continued on into them just not being helpful, but it just continues this same narrative: smart woman, dumb man, um, and shows how vulnerable the race will be when men aren't present. So, because of T'Challa dying, the kingdom is weak, and it's so crazy how like the symbols is just so obvious, and my brain is starting to shut down. But I'm gonna crush the rest of this out. It's obvious that like how they're showing us this is what happens when you say, "Oh, I don't need a man." Right. So like run the kingdom by yourself. And what's gonna happen when the rest of the kingdom start attacking us even more and more of our land? You're just gonna be conquered women. Um and not just that didn't happen in the movie. Obviously, these women in the movie have fighting abilities and powers, and there were great women kingdoms in Africa and whatnot, but it's not the case. And that was a very symbolic moment that shows, okay, kings die, and when the women are left, it's pretty vulnerable. I mean, they got attacked. They got damn near wiped out, and those water people could have wiped them out if you know the sister who was playing Black Panther didn't like have that talk. They had like a talk to just be like, you know what? But I'm skipping. Okay. let me just go over my rest of my points as far as gender roles. I love women, but we need balance. I don't think that like women should just like be in the house and only take care of babies and this, that, and the other. I think women do have a great part in all growth. I mean, black people for sure, and women are obviously like strong, but we need to be uh precise. I think more precise with like the roles that we play in the balance and our strengths and weaknesses, because just some physiological things that aren't changing. If you just believe in any type of science, you trust the science as idiots who was preaching that all last 2 years. Trust the science. Like if you believe any type of real science, then you understand that our makeup as men and women were different. Men are physically stronger. Women are more nurturing and more emotionally intelligent. Um, and we need balance. That's just really what it is. And this movie was not balanced. This movie was all about the women, and it turned into a boring kind of just talking. It was just a lot of talking in this movie, not a lot of action, like I said, and way too obvious with the pushing women agenda thing forward. And uh it's like I say all of this to say, if this is like, obviously they take parts of comics and use that to create these plots. It's not all 100% based on comics, but I'm like, I just wonder what parts are taken from the comic and then what parts are agenda from the white man. Like, white man, whatever that is that exists in the they that everyone talks about, you know, like what part, yeah, what's what? Because I'm seeing a lot of hidden agenda. I'm seeing a lot of hidden agenda. Uh, yeah, and they're obviously trying to put us against each other with things like this, because it's just like, for the most part, the Wakandan men left that were there, they're pretty worthless. Like, they're pretty worthless. Like, they couldn't fight the new enemies. They weren't strong enough, and like they were just getting in the way, and then testing Black Panther to make sure she was strong enough. It was just like, yeah, yeah. Why are we the only race that says be a strong woman? I'm a strong. We were proud of saying be a strong woman, but the thing is, this is where it gets deep, right? Because I'm one of those kids that was raised like with absent father, and it's terribly hard to overcome. And most people end up in different circumstances, gangs, violence, turn into an angry person, and luckily for y'all, and not so much for me, my my energy was turned is I'm more inward. I'm more like, I've faced depression and all sorts of inward attacking because of not like having that male figure there instead of outward energy and emotion. And really, this is what happens when we have fatherless homes. When there's a whole community of fatherless homes, we see like these people are playing chess. They've never stopped playing chess. Like, they've never stopped the agenda. I don't understand why people think, oh, they freed us and gave us some sort of rights, that there's no more agenda. They've just changed the agenda. They've changed the formula. It's not so much physical, it's more mental. And the thing that I always see the pattern from in my lifetime is they give you what you ask for. So if they're like, okay, yeah, you want some rights, you want some voting rights. All right, politics don't really mean much anyway because they're not controlling it. Oh, you want to be in school? Okay, let's get you in some schools. But like these education systems, like is not gonna get you rich. We're just gonna get you in school just enough to work for the rest of your life till you die. You know what I mean? And like, um, and the same, women's rights. Okay, let's get you women's rights. Okay, now both of y'all gotta work. Now the cost of living is more up. Now who's raising your kids? We raising your kids. They're raising your kids because y'all ain't got enough time because y'all both have to work now. But the strategy is always like, okay, we're gonna give you what you want. We're gonna make you think that like you're getting something, but it's all strategy. And I see it. I see it in this film. I see it in the movies and all walks of life. Like strong black woman, weak black man, fatherless children. Then those fatherless children grow up and then they're get more violent by every generation. They're just not like more careless, more like less morals. It was always violent. It was always violence throughout the country and the world. But now it's just I keep hearing like these kids are different. It's different kind of breed with these kids now. I don't got no kids, so I'm not dealing with that shit too much. But from what I'm hearing, so yes, Marvel movies also matter and trickle into the conversation because the narrative that they're showing us in our everyday entertainment that we grow up on uh, gets instilled into us. And yes, at the end of the day, at the end of the movie, they show more spoilers. I gave you a couple warnings. There we go again. At the end, at the very end, you know how the Marvel movies do. They show T'Challa's son, which is hopeful, and not even just I don't know. I think not just saying that because I'm a man. I don't want a boy, like, but yeah, no, it's needed that balance. It can't just be one side. If it was just like that's Black Panther one was balanced. It was men fighting alongside the women were nasty. The women were kicking ass, and so were the men. And or at least Black Panther was. It was like Black Panther and a bunch of women. So like I guess right. But at least there was balance. So maybe this one will be more balanced, or the whatever third one that's coming. Overall, bad movie. I'm black and I'm a Marvel fan, surface level Marvel fan. I ain't no nerd like that, but like for me to be a fan, I'm disappointed. That shit was probably one of the worst Marvel movies ever. There was probably a worse one than that, but this is definitely top three worst Marvel movies ever. Uh, and even if it's a black director, like it's not him. It's not all on him. It's not on just one person. This is obviously funded and like it takes a bunch of companies behind these things to get made, and there are agendas in this shit. I don't care what anybody says. There's some agenda to make us mad at each other, us men and us women, and not see the value of the man. It's way deeper than just money. Because when that T'Challa dies and the Killmonger is put away and there's no more men to defend the land, what you gonna do then? Like, you know what I mean? So, yeah. Movie is pretty trash besides the narrative being what it was. Even besides the black shit and the narrative and all of that. The movie was just like unnecessary. It just wasn't that great. And disappointing. I still had a fun night. But I had to say that because I had to do this review because, again, I'm tired of black art not being controlled by black people. And if they're going to put shit out like this, they're going to put things out like this, we have to at least speak up and be like, oh, I saw that move you did. I saw that little chess move you did. You know what I mean? You moving these chess pieces. I saw that. I saw you setting up for this. You getting us emotional on here so you could set us up on here. You know what I mean? I see what you did, so at least, we just need to be aware of like what they're doing. But yes, that was a good little review. Hopefully I enjoyed it. Let me know if you agree or disagree. You know what I mean? Let me know your thoughts. Peace. I am signing off. Wrong button.